From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, the founder of Spin, Bob Guccione Jr., and its editor, Daniel Kohn. With Gina Grad on news, Bald Brian on sound effects, Dan Dunn stops by for a whiskey tasting, and Dave Dameshek's here for good sports. And now, we started today's show a little late because he couldn't get his mother off the phone, heaping praise on him for the new book. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice but get them in to get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing the show. Right, Gina Grad?
That's right.
Handball, Brian.
Yeah.
I am tickled pink because I woke up this morning and I looked on Amazon, and my latest book, I'm Your Emotional Support Animal, was number 2 overall on Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't number 2 in, conservative talk or political humor, like in its subcategory. It was just number 2 overall.
Number 2.
Number 2. So I was tickled pink. It was it's currently the 11th overall audiobook, and Amazon sold out.
Damn!
Awesome.
So,
Mazel tov.
Quite a feather in your cap.
Yeah, it's be careful what you ask for, because now they're sold out. So
Now you got to glue some more books together.
I know Barnes and Noble is out of stock. Everyone is out of stock. So it's flattering, but please, get the audiobook, because they'll never be sold out of the audiobook, but they're refurbishing as fast as they can, but please just order it and it'll show up lickety split. Also, the Kindle obviously is all digital, so you can get that as well. And I want to thank Hill Press for publishing this thing, because I hadn't written a book in 5 years, and I had a thought about writing a book. And it was sort of like in 50 Years We'll All Be Chicks. I was like, nah, now's the time. I got another idea for a book. The book business can be a little bit of a treadmill, which is sort of like the record business, which is you drop an album, it becomes really successful, and like my first book, and then the studio just wants to follow up, and then they want another follow up, and then you have to tour to support the follow up, and before you know it, you're just writing books one after. You finish one book and you start another book. And I got off the sort of merry-go-round for 5 years and started doing that thing where it's like, well, I wasn't in the business of writing books anymore. I was writing a book because I wanted to write a book. So I hit up Mike Lynch, and we started kicking around the idea of writing another book. And when we decided to do it, I contacted my book agents, and I said, hey, go hit up some of the folks I was a New York Times bestseller with a few years back and tell them I'm ready to write another book. And they were a little less than interested in my 5th book. And I guess times have changed. Also, the only group that's probably more woke than the literary sort of publishers and Manhattan and all that, the only group that's more woke than them is probably Sundance and documentary film festivals and film festivals, Tribeca. These are the ultimate in woke.
You're SOL.
Yeah, I picked the great lane.
Right. So when it comes to putting one of my docs at Sundance, that's never going to happen. And when it comes to heading down in 2020 and heading into Manhattan and trying to get a book deal, that's off the table as well, which is sad, but that's our new world order. So I was sitting around in here, and some of you have heard some of this story, but it's just how it's got to go. So, and this is what I'm explaining to people over and over again. Everyone's talking about cancel culture, and everyone's getting canceled out, and I'm like, that's why I'm sitting in the studio that I built that's inside of the building that I own. I'm doing this intentionally. I understand what's going on. I don't want to apologize, and I don't want to get canceled. So that's why we're doing this. But I had gone out to all the major publishers, and again, these weren't cold calls. I had first look deals with my last publisher. We have a track record of selling a lot of units of books, and 3 times New York Times bestseller list. So
3 times, fool.
no offers came in, and they were a little bit insulting, I would say, with some of their commentary about me and my ability to sell books. So to you, I say kiss my hairy ass. Kiss my hairy ass, because Mike and I were looking at each other, Lynch and I, and we're kind of like, we're a little down about it. Like, it doesn't feel good to announce to the literary world, hey, everybody, good news. Adam Carolla is ready to write another book after a 5-year hiatus. Let the bidding begin, and have everyone get back to you and basically go, not interested and not interested. And by the way, I got to tell you, in our new world order, HBO doesn't just say not interested in your doc. They're fucking rude about it. Which is
Wow.
which is
Oh, boy.
weird, but I get it. Fuck y'all. I'm doing my own thing. So I was sitting here about a year ago, probably, and I had a guest in on Take a Knee, and he'd written a motivational book, and he got paid, and it did pretty well. And when we were done, he said, you should do a motivational book. And I said, yeah, well, I'm trying to do a book, but no one wants my book. And he said, what do you mean? I brought my publisher with me, or my basically broker who found me the publisher. And I just walked right out. And I don't do a lot of soliciting, but I just said to this woman, you got this guy a book deal? And she's like, yeah. I said, could you get me a book deal? And she said, I think I could. And I said, good. Give me your number. Give me your email. I'll hit you up. And
For a guy who hates driving all over the Southland, Santa Monica, Century City, Culver City, this is the best possible meeting for you.
I know.
Walk around, take a left.
It was 18 feet from here in the lobby. They were walking out the door. But the point is I initiated it. I stopped them and I said, I'll write a book. Can you get me a book deal? And she said, I bet I could get you a book deal. And then she walked out. A couple of emails later, next thing you know, book deal. Next thing you know, waking up this morning at the top of all the charts. I mean, number 1 in self-help, psychology, and humor. Number 1 in motivational self-help books. Number 1 in political conservatism and liberalism. Number 1 in personal success, political humor. Number 2. Number 1 in... I already did that one. Let's see. It's all on top of the charts, and they're having to reprint them and frantically get them out to Barnes & Noble and Amazon and everything else. So thank you, you guys. Leave a review. Fuck you very much to the industry that decided they were too woke for my jokes. And this is the new world order. This is how we have to do it, because the other way isn't going to work. And it's only going to work if people who are listening go out and support it. So thanks, Post Hill Press and Anthony Zaccardi. Yes.
I can't help but think of some woman of a certain age, I don't know, maybe my age, all frazzled, crying, maybe going through a breakup, living with the cats, walking into Barnes & Noble going, hi, do you have anything new in self-help? And then handing them your book. Oh, okay.
Self-help. It's so weird for the legacy publishers to be, I mean, it makes sense, but the hubris, like the Post Hill Press, there's got to be 1,000 of them who the pipeline used to be so narrow to sell books. You know what I mean?
Right.
Got to get in the right stores, got to get on the right display, got to go. Nowadays, everyone just goes to Amazon or God knows where they go for books and audiobooks, and the pipeline's been burst open. It's so weird that they have that like sort of residual hubris about it themselves.
Well, maybe in a way it's them exercising the last of their power. This is the last time they can flex this power muscle. I'll tell
use it.
3-time New York Times bestseller author Adam Carolla to go pound sand, and that'll be it. And then after that, we'll be obsolete. Let's see. Dan Dunn's going to be in a second, or zooming in a minute. We're going to test some of these fine whiskeys. First, let me talk to Jeff. Jeff, 38, Turlock, California. Jeff?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Good. What's going on?
Hey, I was just wondering, I know you watch Bill Maher, if you happened to catch him interviewing Killer Mike the other day.
I was on the road last week when Killer Mike or Bill Maher was on. So I usually will catch up. I have not. I actually was looking for it the other night. I wasn't able to find it in my queue, but I didn't. I got distracted. But no, what did Killer Mike have to say?
Oh, Killer Mike's talking, and, he's doing, obviously he's got his narrative, but he's a big gun owner, and they talk about guns, and he says how him and his wife each have an AR-15 on each side of their bed, and whenever they travel, they have guns in the center console. And he says, because when you're high profile and you got money and stuff, you never know if someone's going to try and rob you, and if you have to protect yourself.
Oh yeah,
and
I saw that.
And I want to say,
I saw that.
And I want to ask him, from who, Killer Mike? The cops? Who is it you're protecting yourself from? Who is it that might rob you because you're high profile?
Right.
We blame the cops for everything, and it's all the celebrities and the politicians. It's how come no one ever asks them one simple question? Why do none of you live in these poor neighborhoods of color? Is it because you're scared of the cops, or is there another reason?
Well, Les, I've spoken about this quite a bit, which obviously then gets me out of Sundance and gets me out of the publishing world in Manhattan. So we all know my thoughts on this. The part where you move out of the neighborhood, I don't live in North Hollywood anymore because I'm rich. You know what I mean? That's a white-black thing. That's, it's like OJ's turned his back on the hood. He's living in Brentwood. Yeah, he is. Would you want to live in South Central if you were OJ? No,
Just keep it real.
No, not at all.
Right. So, I don't buy the criticism of moving out of the hood. Everyone moves out of the hood. White people move out of Kentucky when they strike it rich. You know what I mean? Or wherever the poor people were. My dad's shack in North Hollywood. I live a long way from that beat up shotgun shack I grew up in, and intentionally so. But yes, obviously black on black crime is a statistically a much greater issue for young black men, and the numbers are staggering when you break them down. But again, we're not interested in doing the math, and we're certainly not interested in doing that math. Not in today's, that's the third rail. It's political suicide. Obviously, it doesn't help the problem to have everyone dance around it constantly. So you're going to exacerbate a problem, and then you're going to end up getting the cops out of those neighborhoods, and then you're going to get more people who you're trying to save killed. Consequently, unintended circumstances, I say it all the time.
Consequences.
What'd I say?
Circumstances.
Oh, unintended
that kind of fits,
consequences.
too.
No, I wanted to say...
we need both?
If I said circumstances, I made a mistake. I mean,
That's all right.
unintended
Totally.
consequences. All right, let's see. We got another question up there. Dan Dunn's going to be in a second. Oh, we got the audio clip of the book, Dawson. It's a minute long.
Yeah.
Guy can't hang with guy?
Yeah, you added to the list of people you can't hang out with.
Oh, I added to it.
Yeah.
All right, it's a minute 05. Here we go. What happened, guy? This guy drives me nuts. This is the person who sees your shattered smartphone screen and needs to know how it happened. He sees a cracked screen, and he's going to crack the case. What answer other than I dropped it is there? Am I supposed to reply? Mountain Lion, fended it off with my Samsung Galaxy. When there's a tale that involves a sniper's bullet, I'll tell you. But until then, assume it slipped out of my sweatpants pocket in the Ralph's parking lot and cease your CSI cracked screen investigation. It goes back to the victimhood thing. This guy wants to call attention to your misfortune or mistake so that you can join him feeling like an unlucky, downtrodden person. Is this going to be endlessly fascinating for him, or is it just schadenfreude? What information can he glean from this that makes his life better? None. So if this is you, move on, or I'm going to use my cracked iPhone to delete your contact and never speak to you again. Yeah, that guy... how'd you crack the glass on your iPhone guy he's by the way, the evolution of what happened to the door ding guy in your car? Got that ding in your door. What happened here?
What happened there? Most likely I wasn't in the car.
Yes, it's the same story. I went to the Costco. I came back 20 minutes later, and there it was.
Yep.
Thank you.
Case
Jesus
solved. Christ.
All right, let me hit quick Simply Safe. You shouldn't feel unsafe at home, period. And that's why there is Simply Safe. I've been on a mission since day one to protect your home. And do it today. Get free shipping. Simply Safe, 2 I's in there, simplysafe.com/Adam. All right, Dan Dunn is getting on the blower. It's not on it yet. Looks like Chris is talking to him. Porter, 49, Tennessee.
How's it going, Ace Man? Double
Good.
G and Triple B.
Nice.
What's that?
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been listening to you guys since you started the podcast, the Podfather. I have a
you.
question for you, Ace, and one for Brian. The first one I want to ask you is, what do you think the over-under is going to be for Melania to file divorce papers as soon as he gets out of office?
Oh, man, there's got to be a line on that.
Oh, I should look that up.
Yeah, because the new news coming out is that when she said she had to stay behind to take care of Barron when he moved into the White House, she was actually readjusting the prenup.
Because
I heard that.
you can't do it
Let me throw this out to everyone, because I had a related thought no more than 24 hours ago when I heard that news. I was like, is she going to fucking write like a tell-all book where she's like, I was a hostage, or I felt like a blah, 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 or I never loved the man, or whatever you know, they release the blurbs to sell books and it's going to be something extreme. Are we going to fall in line and be like, oh, poor Melania? Or are we going to be like, bitch, you got to fucking say something?
Right. Also, to all the women who marry the multi-millionaires that are, 26 years older than them, it's a little on them, right? And
Sure.
They know what they're getting into.
You made that
Absolutely.
decision,
Yes.
right? Like,
It's a trade.
yeah, you're sitting around like, oh, he always uses the N-word and he's golfing constantly. Like, yeah, that's what you signed up.
You got your citizenship.
That's what you signed up for. All right, so
So, Ace, I wanted to let you know that I also I know your guy, Kelly. I used to live out in L.A., and I was at a restaurant. I do consulting for restaurants and stuff. So it was great you had Dan on, because I wanted to ask him if he knows about the Jameson Black Barrel, which is delicious. And
I have a bottle out of my bar.
yeah.
BB.
I
So
do.
I was wondering, Bob, if you had any ideas about getting into that category for stunt work in either the movies or TV.
You have to rephrase that question. I didn't quite get it. Sorry about that.
How do you feel about the need for a category for stunts in the award system?
Oh, like for Oscar? I think it's overdue. I think there should be an Oscar for casting. Like, it is so hard to cast a movie well, and when it's done well, it's like, wow, I've never seen that person before. Where'd you find them? So, yeah, expand the categories. They already combined sound mixing and sound editing, thank God. Sorry, sound mixers and sound editors, but it was a little bit tedious. I think I should add a couple more categories, maybe stunt work and maybe casting.
There'll be pre-televised cast.
How dare you?
All right, Dan Dunn is ready to go with us. He's got many offerings here. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Oh, turn your mute off.
Colin Farrell looks terrible.
He really looks like Colin Farrell these days. Dan, can we hear you? Can you hear us? No, he's muted or something is wrong.
Yeah, just run your cursor over the square and unmute. There you go.
Better?
There we go.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, what's happening, Dan?
I went and got a haircut.
Yeah.
It looks good. You look like The Weeknd.
I'm trying to tap into my inner 22-year-old. Yeah.
Dan is a journalist and a spirits expert. You've heard him on this show a few times. What Are We Drinking with Dan Dunn? I've done a fun podcast to do. It's available on Apple Podcasts. So what do we got, Dan? What we doing, whiskey?
We got a bunch of whiskeys with us today. I see you've got one right up there on the counter there, Adam. The first one we're going to do is a Dewar's, which we have had. We've tried Dewar's before on the show, but never this expression here, which is the double 27-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to pour some of that in the glass here.
Adam loves her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a Dewar's, as you know, their master blender, Stephanie McLeod, very well known, very well respected in the industry. This particular whiskey is malt whiskeys that are aged a minimum of 27 years, and then they're blended together. So this is a hearty whiskey. It's finished in sherry casks, Palo Cortado sherry casks, which is very uncommon for a whiskey. You don't get that a lot, and I think you're going to notice that when we try it. Want to take a little sip here?
Yeah, that's good.
Ooh.
I'm doing ice over
Max,
here, Dan. Is that okay?
Next, Pat, you got a funnel? Get this stuff back in the bottle.
Yeah,
Pound
we'll
it.
drink it. We'll find something.
He's gonna butt chug it.
No, I'm just saying. I
gotcha.
gotta do a bunch of interviews and stuff. If I was sitting home, I'd get lit with you guys. But
I'll pour smaller samples.
I gotta go to work. Yeah.
Dan, give me your thoughts on ice versus a little drop of water versus neat versus what do you like?
Well, I always like to try it neat first to sort of take the measure of the whiskey without any interference. Then water, almost any distiller you're going to meet is going to put a little bit of water in there because it opens it up. It mellows out the alcohol notes a little bit and it lets you identify the other flavors that are going on. But if I'm at home and I'm just sipping, yeah, I'm doing ice. I mean, I have a glass of ice right here. And I mean, this one's probably, going to be delicious on ice as well. Adam, I know you like to know the prices on these things.
Well,
So
let me ask this. A couple of drops of water, like how much water are we physically talking about? Like we don't have to do a ratio thing, but just literally a few drops to open it up.
Yeah, honestly, when you go to a distillery, they'll have an eyedropper and they'll just take a little bit and put it in there because it has the effect of taking that alcohol sting out of it. The water just kind of and makes it a lot more. It makes it a lot easier to identify the flavors that are going on here. And I mean, this one is such an unusual whiskey. What are you guys getting there, notes wise?
I am getting I'm getting a very spicy note. That's what I'm feeling. Very spicy and very full-bodied and robust, and like you're drinking whiskey. Like if you want whiskey, that's what you're drinking here, and that's how it plays to me.
I don't know if it's because you said it or not, but I can get the sherry cask. It's got that sort of dark wine finish to it.
Gives it a richness to it. Yeah.
Sherry cask also sounds like the weather girl at an AM radio, like a radio station.
Hey, let's turn it over to Sherry Cask and see what's going on out there in the skies.
It is cold this morning. Grab a sweater.
Sherry, is it going to be snowing out there today? Should we bring our gaiters?
Woo! Make sure you get a poncho or something to throw over your neck.
Now, remember, you can find Sherry this weekend at the Bass Pro Fishing Shop. That's on the corner of Elm and Lucerne. That's coming up.
I love to meet my fans.
Yeah, we're going to be you're out there with the boat displays, right?
I'll be there with the boat display, and every time someone says, "Do you come with this boat?" I'll say, "Oh, you."
And Sherry, you'll be going is that 12 noon to 3 p.m.? Sorry.
That's right, 12 to 3 straight up.
So it's a Bass Pro Shop that's on Euclid and 15th, I think, is where the brass. We got so many of them out here.
Yeah, that's the biggest one. That's the one with 3 floors.
Sherry's also then, that's Saturday. Sunday's going to be at the Big O Tire Center. That's out in Upland.
That's right. There'll be a big tent in the parking lot. I'll be right in it.
She'll be there from noon to 3 as well. Big O Tire Center. I think they're selling off-road tires. And remember, when you ask if Sherry comes with a tire, her answer will be what?
Oh, you.
So again, that's Bass Pro Shop. That's it's noon to 3 this weekend. And just go ahead and go online and find that. And then Big O Tire Center coming out after that. Sadly, on Monday, she's going to be in rehab. I don't want to give a plug for where that is. We're not going to expose the directions of that. But Sherry's got a little fentanyl problem, and
but I will be signing autographs in rehab. Oh, you.
Remember, she'll kiss it all. She'll put the kissing potion on. She'll sign it. Oh, you. That's her signature sign off, and then she'll go ahead and back into rehab. So, Sherry, thanks for joining. And again, your signature sign off.
Oh, you.
All right.
And rehab, she signs it OD.
That's right. So this is delicious.
I was going to say, I don't know how to follow this.
All right, Max, I'm handing it back to you. Now, I have a problem. I can't waste anything, and especially stuff that's good, and especially stuff that's expensive. So get a goddamn funnel.
We'll do something with
Put it back into that bottle.
Also, before we get to the next whiskey, I got to thank everybody from the Whiskey X for hooking us up with these mighty fine whiskey.
Oh, yeah. I'm the MC of the Whiskey X. I probably should have mentioned that. Yeah. But,
when is that? Are we doing it
well, we're
live
not
or
doing it
virtually?
right now. You and I were going to do a couple of them, I think, and then, what happened.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping maybe, the hope would be that at some point this year we get to do them. They're great events. I mean, we've already had 5, I think, that we've had to postpone, but it's something to look forward to. Yeah.
All right. What's our next offering?
Okay. So next up, we've got Bruichladdich. Look at the spelling on that. And I got to tell you, it took me a while back in the day. I was like, what is this? Bruichladdich?
Yeah, that's tough.
Bruichladdich, which is a single malt scotch. It just actually got there's a new thing that they have. It's called B Corp status, which is a new thing they're doing over there in Scotland, that it's about your profit and purpose situation where they really take care of their workers and their suppliers, their community. And this is the first scotch to get awarded that. Just happened about 3 weeks ago. Bruichladdich on Islay. You guys might remember from when I've been on the show before talking about scotch. Islay is an island off the west coast of Scotland where the peatiest scotches in the world are made.
No, this one says unpeated. So is it not going to be peaty?
This is not a peated one, and there's a couple on that island don't do it. But the next one, there's 2 we've got from Bruichladdich. One is unpeated, and the other one is heavily peated. This first one is the classic laddie. Okay. By the way, one of the smaller producers on Islay is Bruichladdich, but it's the largest private employer on the island. So this one here, let me pour it in. Oh.
Yeah, this does feel a little peatier than the last one, although it doesn't feel peaty. It feels it's a little thinner, it's a little lighter.
I'm getting lemon, honey, cherry blossom, a little bit of that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when I smelled it, it has like a sour kind of like a sour fruit, like a stone fruit, but it doesn't taste sour. It tastes delicious.
Yeah, it's good. And I guess for me, it's a dark versus light. I tend to gravitate toward the darker ones more so than the lighter ones. But this is so to me, the last one was like a wintertime whiskey, and this is more summertime whiskey. If I was to put it that way.
Ace, I think I don't know about you, but I'm getting like the peaches to the fruit, the peaches, apricot. Yeah. There's like even a little like a fudge quality. When you say that, that's kind of what I'm getting. This kind of seems like if I were sipping a whiskey at a state fair, it'd be this. You know,
this is summertime whiskeys, poolside. I would say.
Yeah. Sherry,
Dan, give us the. Oh,
sorry, Sherry Peaches is also the name of our traffic girl. Who's Sherry there?
It is bumper to bumper out there.
Sherry 405. I heard there's a mattress in Lanes.
There's some debris in Lanes. Yeah, it's a big fluffy mattress.
Yeah, you a California king kind of gal, or you like a queen, double? What do you roll on?
Well, everybody knows I'm the queen of traffic, but I like to really roll around. So let's go, California king.
Sherry Peaches is going to be at the Big O Tire Center. I think that's noon to 3. That's in Upland, California, I believe it. I think it's in Upland coming up. She'll be out there, so come on out, get a beer koozie, say hi to Sherry Peaches over there. And then
I love Sherry Peaches. I might go out there and say hi.
She's going to be. Wait a minute, you are Sherry Peaches.
Who the fuck's the other one?
The other one is Sherry Cask. Sherry Cask. Sherry Cask.
I'm just going to put this down for a hot second.
Gina's lit. She's getting her characters on. Sherry Cask.
Yeah.
Sherry, all right. I think we're going to have Sherry Peaches and Sherry Cask out there at the Big O Tire Center in Upland. Sherry Peaches, you going to be out there?
Oh, yeah. And you know what my sign-off is? Oh, you.
And Sherry, I don't want to start an argument, but that's kind of Sherry Cask's calling card. She does.
No, in her defense, it's very different. Mine is, oh, you.
Oh, she doesn't do the laugh afterward. All right.
Yeah, mine is, oh, you.
Oh, that's
subtle differences.
Sherry Peach and then Sherry Cask is. I'm
Couldn't
sorry.
be more different.
Sorry, what was Sherry Cask again? I'm sorry.
Oh, you.
All right, so it's a Big O Tire Center in Upland. Look, it says noon to 3. I'd get there before 11 because they're going to line up. You got calendars, headshots, beer koozies, keychains. It's all going to be there.
And there might be a kissing booth.
Oh, it's going to be a little Sherry on Sherry crime over there. And then again, after that, it's off to the Bass Pro Shop, and that'll come up on Sunday again, noon to 3. Sherry Cask, Sherry Peaches, thank you very much. We'll be back with traffic, weather, traffic news, and weather traffic after this.
Mm-hmm.
After listening to the Sherrys, I don't know if it's appropriate to bring up the fresh, ripe fruit that I'm getting.
Please do.
Brian, if you're going to do the fruit, try not to make it too offensive.
Yeah, sorry.
We're doing a fashion report with Brian Fruit, everybody. Okay. All right. Sorry. What's our next
Tasteless.
one?
Okay. Same distillery, Riclati. This one's called Port Charlotte, heavily peated.
Ooh.
So
Heavily
we know
peated.
peat is, the natural, it's basically grass, bog that grows. The whole island of Isla is basically one giant peat bog. They take it, they dry it out. They use the peat to smoke the barley. The barley is the starch that's used to make the scotch. That peat permeates the barley, and that's where you're going to get that really smoky quality to this.
This smells like charcuterie. I love it.
Heavy, by the way, Heavy Pete rolls with Killer Mike when they go into the hood.
Yeah, they got AKs.
You better keep that Glock right in the glove box when you're rolling with Heavy Pete and Killer Mike into the hood. So this is peaty, but I may have to change my tune on the peat here. Let's see.
Ooh.
So this one's got, again, I think there's like a vanilla thing. There's some ginger, some nutmeg. There is a spiciness. So I think what Gina was saying about the charcuterie, kind of that, like maybe even this salami type thing.
Yeah.
Smoked meats.
There, salty.
Yeah.
There's a saltiness. And by the way, this is right on the ocean. And that ocean influence really, it can be experienced here in the whiskey as well. So
Holy hell.
Yeah, this is what I'm drinking after the Christmas party. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like cold night, winding down. This is flavorful and rich.
Question about this from somebody who knows very little about alcohol. Would you, and maybe Brian would want to weigh in on this because I know that he's a fan, but
You have an actual expert here. Don't talk to me.
well, no, just because I know you like it, but I'd love Dan's opinion. This is almost like what mezcal is to tequila. This is the very heavy, smoky, full-bodied.
That's a really good analogy actually, because the tequila would be this one, the classic latte,
Right.
the unheated. Exactly right. And then Port
delicious.
Charlotte would be the mezcal.
Oh.
And the difference is where that came from, and again, stuff we've covered on the show before, but mezcal, the reason mezcal happened was they used to have to bury the agave underground to bake it, to hide it from the Spanish government, because they were to hide it from tax purposes. And what ended up happening was, it was a happy accident, was all of that smoke got captured into the mezcal, into the agave, the piñas down there. And that's where that came from. So yeah, that's a great one. This would be the classic latte would be your tequila. The Port Charlotte would be your mezcal. What is Port Charlotte's job on the newscast that we're in? Should we keep going with the Charlotte thing?
Yeah, I think we should. Hold on,
The cast is out of Port Charlotte.
I got a troubling text from Chris Laxamana. Heavy Pete was shot out front of the Peterson Automotive Museum 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
I didn't know that
God.
after an event.
He's a big target.
And they've no suspects so far. So
Didn't see that on the wire.
That's on a sad note. I did not hear about that. But there's all the Black Lives Matter and the COVID-19 and everything in the news. I guess I just missed.
To Heavy Pete.
Yeah.
To Heavy Pete. Come on, bottoms up.
Don't pour one out.
I'm sorry. What was the name of the port? What was
Port Charlotte.
Port Charlotte. Sounds like an indie band. But I'll try to work with it. Dan, let me explain the artistic process. It can't be forced or foisted upon one. It must organically grow up, like the agave that was baked in the soil. there's a steeping process. You can't just swing by and throw a premise at me. It has to organically grow within the podcast. I appreciate what you were trying to do there, but
it was the whiskey. It's the whiskey talking.
There's a process here, much like yes.
Respect the process.
Right.
Respect the process.
Hey, by the way, anybody else thinking this? To me, this whiskey would be fantastic with oysters.
Ooh.
Right? Like that. Oh, man.
I also would say that if you are bringing a whiskey to a party and you want to kind of start a conversation, and maybe it's a place where other people are going to bring some decent hooch, bring this one. It's a conversation.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's a good looking bottle. I mean,
yeah.
Were we going to?
It looks like an old timey potion medicine bottle.
Were we going to discuss prices? I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Well,
part.
do you want me to? I know sometimes, Adam, you like me to do that at the end, or do you want me to?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll do it at the end. Sorry, go ahead.
Got a couple more.
Okay, next up is a whiskey called Westland, which I got familiar with a couple of years ago. Excuse me. Westland is from the Pacific Northwest, founded in Seattle, Washington in 2010. And it's a small craft distillery, but it very quickly vaulted to the top of the pack of American whiskeys that of note. Critics loved it, and it's become a very, very sought after whiskey here. So,
all right, so let's try.
Interesting smell. It's a different smell than the others.
Wow, this is does start very different, right?
Almost like pickle and cornichon.
Yeah, again, of course, it's not Scotch, so that's the first thing. We're not drinking a Scotch here.
It's herbaceous.
Yeah,
herbaceous. I don't even know what that means, but I like it.
Smells of herbs.
Oh, herbaceous.
Yeah, almost positive. I could have got that wrong.
Basil, oregano.
Don't make me defenestrate you, Brian. I'll throw your ass right out of a window.
So this one's the American single malt. This is also distilled from a malted barley, same as they do with Scotch. They are mimicking a lot of the methods of Scotch, but I think what this distillery is going for is sort of that coffee and beer culture as well that they have in the Pacific Northwest. So they're trying to there's a hip thing that surrounds this whiskey. I mean, when Adam was talking about stories, when you bring a bottle to a party, this is one of those ones that I think, because it's marrying the traditions of Scotland, but with a new innovative take on it. Yeah.
And you're okay with that? There's nothing precious that we should be saying, oh, hell no, we don't like that it's made in it's made here, it's made in the Pacific Northwest.
Absolutely not. No, I mean, drink what you like. That's my thing. And obviously there are spirits that have a great tradition, been around for a long time. I love that. We've had a lot of that on the show. But then these newer ones, if they're doing it right, and these guys are doing it right, yeah.
Go for it.
I could drink this. I might drink it all day.
Yeah. This one finishes very nicely. It finishes like, in a weird way, some of them finish on kind of an up note, like a little bitter, a little tangy, a little zesty or something. This one sort of coasts to a stop, like it finishes smoothly. I don't mean that in a negative way, coasting to a stop. I just mean it doesn't finish
soft
up.
landing.
It kind of finishes down, like it doesn't leave that taste in your mouth.
I can tell why you like it, Adam. One of the tasting notes, Rainier cherries.
Oh, I love me a Rainier cherry.
Dan, tell me if I'm insane. This is like a little fennel, like black licorice almost. It's got that sort of black licorice.
No, you're insane. No, you're insane. Gina?
Yeah, well, like Brian said before, herbaceous, though I feel like an asshole saying that.
It's a new word.
Like I said, when I first smelled it, it kind of briny, pickly, a little bit sour. But the taste very like oregano, basil, like all these like almost, Italian flavors that I love. Very, very interesting. Not what I expected.
This is the beauty of tasting these things, is it everybody can get different things. And I don't think it's ever wrong. Like what you're talking about, this brininess, I'm getting something completely different. I'm getting like, the graham crackers with the chocolate on it?
Yeah.
Yes.
This reminds me of that.
Oh, boy.
Chocolate covered. Yeah. Like that sweetness and richness to it that I'm, but that said.
Yeah, good.
Delicious.
All right, we have one more?
Oh, yeah.
Clyde Mays.
I love this part of it when we do these segments. It's like, what?
What?
Okay.
What's going on?
Clyde Mays. Clyde Mays is very interesting whiskey. It's an Alabama style whiskey. And what that means is that at the end of the process, there was an actual Clyde May. He was this famous bootlegger. He would add He would add dried apple slices to the barrel at the end of the aging process. So that's gonna do something really interesting here. And as I said, he was known as the most wanted moonshiner in Alabama back in the mid 20th century. And this thing they didn't actually make this legal until 2001. They started making it legally in 2001, the Clyde Mays.
This smells heavenly.
Yeah, this feels more basic, a little less complicated than some of the last few offerings, and just kind of whiskey as, when you're looking for whiskey and you have that picture in your mind of that's what I want, this is what this delivers, with those notes of apple as well.
Apple, there's butterscotch. I think there's some caramel in there. This is
buttery.
What'd you get, Brian?
Buttery. I don't know if my palate's ruined from the last 4, but this is buttery almost to me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it is. This is again, I'm using the term rich, but this is a sweeter whiskey than the ones we've had. So, it's a Southern whiskey. People like things sweet down in the South. And this is kind of the one you maybe put a little ice on it. It's a good, sweet, smooth sipping whiskey.
This is a crisp night on a porch. This is so delicious. And it does have that sort of like cinnamony apple, like yummy, warm notes.
Sherry Cask, you ever made love on a porch?
I've made love on a porch. I'm like Dr. Seuss. I've made love on a porch. I've made love with a morch. I've made love inside a porch. I've done it next to a torch.
Hey, Sherry, Dr. Seuss, he actually rhymes things that exist. I don't know that a corch and a torch and a sword.
Are you telling me you've never tried making love with a corch?
No,
I'll get you a promo code.
The day is young. Thank you, Sherry Cask. This is good, basic, again, straight down the middle and solid, but sort of not the conversation that some of the other ones have been. If you went to the party and you were bringing something, this would be just a straightforward version
This is
whiskey.
a tried and true, crowd pleaser.
Bring this to the
everyone's gonna
barbecue.
love this.
You're going to a summer barbecue at some point, God willing, next year. Bring this.
Hey, Dan, we're up against the time here, so why don't, instead of us doing our guessing game, because I think we love all these things, why don't you just go through the price points in order of appearance?
So the Dewar's, the double Dewar's, as you can see, comes in a smaller. You can't see if you're listening. But it's in a 375 milliliter bottle, so it's a half a bottle basically. 750 is the normal size. It's $120 for the 375. So this is
holy hell.
Yeah, that's
pour
expensive.
it back, Laxamana. Pour it back.
Do not waste a drop.
Yeah.
A funnel. The Clyde. The second one we had the two Brooklatties. The classic Lottie, $63 a bottle, and then the Port Charlotte, which is the peatier one, is $73 a bottle. The Westland, the American Single Malt, is also $73 a bottle. And finally, what did we have? Oh, the Clyde Mays is $43 a bottle.
Yeah, that seems about right. It all seems about right.
They're all so different, and you can't go wrong with any of these. There's such wonderful, different kinds of choices. Thank you so much.
Hey, I want to tell everyone if they'd like to get any of these or try any of these, and I suggest they do, they just head to Caskers, CASKERS.com, Caskers.com, and you can give any of these things a try. Dan Dunn, What We're Drinking with Dan Dunn, available on Apple Podcasts, and the book, American Wino, which I have read and is very well crafted, available on Amazon as well.
Oh, also, Adam, on Dan's podcast, the most recent guest, Phil Rosenthal.
Oh, the great Phil.
Feed Phil, and also...
Phil gone.
Oh, they're doing a live stream tonight as you hear this, 9 p.m. Eastern on Flaviar's YouTube channel.
So check that out. Dan, thank you very much for joining us. Always a pleasure. Always a delight. All right, let's see. Bob Guccione and Daniel Kohn. Is it Kohn? Yeah, I think it's Kohn. Daniel Kohn and Bob Guccione are coming on next. They're getting Spin back up and running, and we'll take a quick break. We'll talk to them right after this.
Adam Carolla's I'm Your Emotional Support Animal, navigating our all-woke, no-joke culture.
I'd make a terrible Peloton trainer. They're supposed to be inspirational and motivational and can't be cruel. I would be the Arlie Ermy of Peloton trainers. I wouldn't even be on a bike. I'd be in a lazy boy, chain smoking, eating key lime pie and shouting, if this stationary bike was hooked up to a generator connected to the dome light of a 1973 Impala, it'd be dim, you bloated witch. I don't care how hard you pedal, cunt. You'll never outrun your horrible childhood.
Available now in all formats. Pick up a copy now at adamcarolla.com.
My words are funnier with a buzz. Bob Guccione Jr. is with us. Daniel Kohn is with us as well. The publication, of course, Spin, and we're bringing it back. Let's thank you for joining us on the show, guys.
Oh, pleasure.
Yeah,
pleasure.
Great to be here.
Bob, and we'll get into Spin in a moment. Your dad, obviously, famously publisher, creator of Penthouse, one of the all-time characters in American history, right?
He was. Absolutely. I think he's one of the great characters of the 20th century.
Yeah.
With Walt Disney and Hefner and a few others, yeah.
I mean, just
really moved the needle.
Hearing that guy talk, seeing the big medallion hanging around his hairy chest, that guy, I just remember from my childhood or my younger days as being like a crazy all-time character. Everyone kind of remembers Hugh Hefner, but Hugh Hefner was the sort of soft, sort of well-spoken, sort of polite and public version of Bob Guccione. But where's your dad come from? How did that start? Who was he?
Well, he was a Italian-American, born in Brooklyn, painter, very excellent painter, impressionistic, surrealistic painter, who went to Europe and one day realized that the biggest selling men's magazine in England was American, and they hadn't even bothered to change the price. And so he said, well, I can do that. And he just decided on a whim to copy it and came out with Penthouse, which, of course, was a huge success in England, immediately outsold Playboy. And then he brought it to the States. He was a great man, my dad. I was very, very, very close to him at the end. We had a long separation. I think you know that, Adam, because I think I saw you during that period. And, very proud of him. He's passed away now. He's gone about almost 10 years.
Spin magazine, 1985 is when it began. It was originally, well, let's talk about the inspiration for Spin in 85. What were the origins of that?
Well, it occurred to me that my generation and my friends were all listening to music that no one was talking about. And I used to have to drive up the east side of Manhattan to get out of the city because I could tune into a Long Island radio station that played the music I liked. I wouldn't go up the west side even though it was closer.
What were they playing in 85?
Oh, it was Depeche Mode, Tears for Fears, all that new wave English stuff. REM maybe just breaking through. U2 was an unknown band. And, The Replacements, all this great stuff that really started a movement. And I thought, well, when I was a kid, Rolling Stone meant a lot to the people just slightly older than me. It was a little bit older than I was. And I thought, I'm going to do that. So in a sense, it was a similar thing of like, well, I can do that, And the other thing was that I realized that the great thing about Rolling Stone, which is a great magazine, was a great magazine. I think it's failed a bit now, flailing a bit now. But the great thing about it was it recognized that there was an audience that didn't trust mainstream media, a young audience that wasn't sure of their place in the world or mainstream media's agendas, which were often quite conflicted. So Rolling Stone was very honest with the audience. And that meant they trusted the journalism that they received. So I thought, same thing with Spin. We have to be honest with the audience. We've got to tell them like it really is. We've got to speak in the language they understand. And we have to have a sense of humor about it, a bit of a reverence, a sense of humor about ourselves. And so we connected with the readers in a great way. And in our time, we passed Rolling Stone as the most significant music magazine of the generation. It was our generation. It was our time. And then I sold it in 1997 and didn't really think about it again for a long, long time until recently when the new owner approached me and said, "Hey, would you work with us? We could use some of that old flair and some of that old magic." And that was very appealing. Obviously, very flattering, very appealing.
Yeah.
So,
Daniel, you went to, were you USC grad? Yeah, went to USC. Yeah. Brian went to USC, master's in print journalism. You work for Rolling Stone, Vice, Playboy, LA Weekly, OC Weekly. I'm very curious as to what's going on with journalism these days. It feels, in many cases, sort of like the opposite of journalism. There's a few outliers, but in general, the mainstream stuff feels like they're picking a side, they're telling a narrative, and they're going down a path that has been sort of decided based on what side they're on, mostly politically. Do you have any, as someone who's had a lot of journalistic background, what are your thoughts on that?
I have felt and always will feel that you have to lay everything out for the audience to decide. You have to lay the facts as you see them. You picking a side, just basically panders to everyone or to one side, and it demonizes the other side. And we're looking at the world right now, and we're seeing the effect of that. When there's media needs to be there to kind of show the people what is going on. And it's up to the people to decide that. And that's something actually that we're looking to do also, is we're looking to, not both sides. That everyone always is like, oh, both sides. But you know what? You need to present the facts in a clear, concise fashion that shows something clear that'll resonate with your audience. You just need to be as honest as you can with the audience. And who knows what, some of the mainstream media's focuses these days. But that's what we are doing. We're just focusing on just giving people information. It's up to them to decide.
Well, I feel like if you are a person that dispenses information, and I always kind of think of folks like Bill Maher and guys like Mark Garagos. Mark Garagos and Bill Maher say things I disagree with, and then they say things I do agree with because they're being intellectually honest. It's not really about right or wrong. If anyone watches Bill Maher's show, he'll say a bunch of stuff you may disagree with, and then he'll say a bunch of stuff you do disagree with. But either way, you go, that's his opinion. When you talk to Mark Garagos as much as I talk to Mark Garagos, that guy's all over the road on, every different subject, but it's his opinion. And I don't think we're asking to have an agreeable opinion. I just want to know it's your opinion. That's where we're losing our connection. So if you're going to print a magazine, a newspaper, or do cable or network television, I just want to know that's what your opinion is, and then I'll kind of decide whether I agree with it or not. I don't want to feel like it has an agenda. And I think ultimately a lot of these news outlets are going to hurt themselves big picture with what appears to be an agenda versus their opinion. And I think the voices who give their opinion and consistently give their opinion are the ones that are actually going to benefit during this weird time we're living in.
Yeah, it's certainly a weird time, that's for sure. It's one of those things, like you said, it seems like these days everything is inherently biased one way or another. But like you said also, like with Maher, you just got to own it. Just own it, and then let your audience decide whether they agree with it or not. In England, as Bob could probably attest also, with all the newspapers they have there, you know what you're getting when you open up a Daily Mail versus a Guardian or the Times of London. You know what kind of bent you're getting, and you're going to read that paper because for whatever reason, whether it's a contrarian opinion or whether you agree with it or want the echo chamber, it's there for you. And Bob, you could probably add to that too.
Yeah, I would. That's a good point, Daniel. I think the problem with media today, Adam, is it's too tribal. That's the problem with the country, by the way. Sure. 80% of it is tribal. There's only a small margin in the middle that's actually open to changing their mind or new thoughts or to new people. I think another thing that has to be said is the media has to be bold. It has to have courage, and it's lacking that right now. And I grew up, I've been in the media 45 years, and I grew up in that golden era of magazines when magazines had opinions, they took positions, they fought for things, they went to court, they got in trouble. I did all of those things. I got to court, got in trouble, a lot of attacks on my publications because we took a very bold stand. Some of it from the left, some of it from the right. But I think we're missing mostly. I hope Spin is not missing this. I believe we're not missing it, I should say. I hope you see that. And that's certainly why I was most interested in coming back to help these guys, is to bring that, that boldness back and that gutsiness, which I think most of the media, especially the media aimed at youth culture, has abandoned. We live in such a woke time, such a politically correct time now, which I hate, I abhor, that we have lost our courage. And I think people want to know that you're being bold, that you're saying something that might get you in trouble. It might be unpopular. The truth is often unpopular, very often unpopular.
Are the publications in England more divided than we are here in the States?
I think they are. I think they're actually, the left is more politically correct and the right is more, conservative and stuffy and traditionalist. There's very little in the middle. Very little in the middle. And unfortunately, especially TV news whips people up into a frenzy of anger and hatred, and then plays to that. I'm very disappointed, for instance, with the media I normally watch, CNN and MSNBC, because I think they're whipping up. It's a panic porn we're living in. The whole coronavirus thing was a panic porn. Now we're in the riots, panic porn. And the right side, which is manipulating images and videos, on Fox, they're whipping it up the other way. That the crazy left is tearing America down. So we need some moderate thinking in there. And someone has to have the courage to be moderate, which means sometimes on the left you say the right is right, and sometimes on the right you say the left is right.
Well, I always talk to Dr. Drew about this, and Dr. Drew has a great concern about this subject. And I tell him, he gets angry at the news outlets. Why are these guys panicking these people, or why are these guys underplaying this? And I say, I don't blame them, because as long as it's a for-profit endeavor, as long as they're trying to make money, then, nobody makes a lot of money saying coronavirus is an issue, it's serious, but, if you're under 70, you're probably going to be fine. And, it's hit the nursing homes the hardest and people with pre-existing conditions. And there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to go outside as long as you sort of mind the rules. That doesn't sell anything. The sell.
I know, but it shouldn't be about selling, Adam, should it? I mean, not in the media.
No, but here's the problem.
That's responsibility. That's responsibility to be more accurate.
Yeah, but what you're asking for is kind of the impossible, which is you should be responsible and tone down your rhetoric, right or left, and you'll probably lose some viewers and lose some sponsorship and whatever, but don't worry, you'll have your integrity at the end of the day. Well, that doesn't work, the integrity versus the bottom line. What I keep telling Dr. Drew is it's not the news outlet's fault, even though it is, but they're going to follow the money. We can't blame them for that. It's our fault. We need to understand what we're seeing and what we're hearing. We need to tune into Fox for half an hour and then watch some CNN and then watch some MSNBC and spread it around a little bit. If you get sucked down one rabbit hole, you're going to get poisoned.
I think both rabbit holes are bad. I do that. I do watch a bit of Fox and then I watch a bit. And we could literally be watching about reports from Venus and one from Pluto. It's that different. There's not even a connection. It used to be the right was slightly right of the truth and the left was slightly left of it. Now it's just completely 100 miles apart. And it's unrecognizable that they're talking about the same story.
But I
take issue with what you're saying. I take issue because I understand, of course, the profit motive. I'm in the media and I want to make a profit. But I do think it's sort of like the product is integrity. You can't abandon that. You have integrity. You say exactly what you feel. You do not get influenced by other people. And that's why your show is great. It's not true unfortunately, it's not true of the three major cable networks. And I think that is a problem. And it is also our problem to a degree, society-wide, because we're lazy.
Well,
we don't have the time to read, that sort of thing.
I agree in what you say, a big picture. I think a lot of these people, a lot of these outlets are going to hurt their brand going after the fast money, the short money. Right. I think it's not going to look good for them. It's already, I've been in Los Angeles my entire life. The Los Angeles Times is the paper of record for me. At any other time in history, if they would have printed a story that said Los Angeles Times says X, Y, and Z, I would have went, oh my God, that's exactly what's happening. I hear it now. I hear that and I go, let me check that out. Let me see. Let me investigate. I bet it's that they've hurt their brand. And they got paid, but they hurt their brand. But I think if you check in 5 years from now, it's not going to be good.
In what sense?
I think the brand, I think the damage, it's sort of like, I'll make a stupid example, but NASCAR was really popular in, 2003. And so everything became NASCAR weekends, NASCAR after show, pre-show, truck series, NASCAR. And it's so popular, but they burnt themselves out. And then we went through this whole decade of nobody's interested in NASCAR anymore because you found that you were getting paid, Fox, talking about NASCAR and running NASCAR. So you did everything NASCAR, and now we got burnt out on it. And I feel that's the same way with a lot of these news outlets. It's already happening. When you hear something out of Fox or you hear something out of CNN, you go, let me investigate. I don't know if he really said that or did that.
Also, there's another problem. Social media is just so, unfettered and unmoored. There's no anchor of a sense of responsibility to the truth on social media and a lot of digital media. That the bar is now so low that even at the level CNN and Fox are going at, they're above that bar. They're actually better than that crap.
Right.
But they're still crap. So I just think it's terribly disappointing, and I think it's terribly damaging. Because we have a very, very uneducated, uninformed public drifting into somnambulance as we approach a very important election.
And the louder and more uneducated, the more uneducated, the louder.
Oh, absolutely.
So everybody who's on Twitter fancies himself a journalist. Yeah.
I said raising my voice, which didn't mean.
but everybody who can tweet out their thought thinks that they are now a journalist.
Oh,
as well.
Absolutely.
And everyone's an op-ed writer and an opinion person too, in that sense.
How does spin fit into all this conversation? How are they going to remedy this?
Well, the thing is we're ramping up our culture coverage. In the past few years, we've gone heavily on music, and we're going back into culture, and we're going to feature those diverse voices that we were talking about earlier. We have we've been running some op-eds lately from musicians, and we have a couple of pieces Bob's been shepherding with some political figures and filmmakers that'll kind of, it will have a bent, but it'll have a balanced bent because, you have to keep people honest. And that's the one thing is when everyone has their echo chambers, no one's been honest with themselves and no one's been willing to look themselves in the mirror and say, oh, look, I have a pimple. No one's like, no pimple. It's basically the emperor's new clothes effect. And that's something I always pride myself on. And actually, I did the same thing when I wrote about your patent troll thing forever ago, is that I had to try and find that patent troll guy. I never responded, but I still had to try, But, that's the thing. You got to at least give people a chance to put their crazy out there. And it's up to your audience to decide who's crazy and who isn't. And it's presenting information. And if we have these figures who are voicing their opinions, we have to be the first ones to say that it's not right. And that can be with music, sports, politics, culture, anything.
Well, thanks for writing about the patent troll all those years ago.
Remember that?
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question, Daniel. Is that the catch-22 of what's plaguing one of the things that's plaguing journalism these days, which is you have to, but the idea is to remain objective or neutral. But sometimes there's things that where you like taking the middle road is not, you know what I mean? Like you should call out what is wrong. For example, the patent troll is like, okay, well yes, you could be neutral about it, but really this is ultimately wrong and this is not the way it should be. And that's what the courts ultimately decided. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the thing is we laid out the facts that showed that, it was obvious that the guy's wrong and the information presented itself and showed that the person was wrong. But what I mean by both sides is like giving the person, a chance to respond to something. It's like basic journalism ethics, stuff like that kind of has gone by the wayside because you see with people who are being accused of stuff, they don't get a chance to say, whoa, I didn't do that. How could you say I did this type of thing?
Well, and that's why so many articles say that person wasn't available for comment because you had to try.
Absolutely.
Yeah. and they often don't want to comment because they'll be nailed. Dan, can I add a point?
Yeah.
I taught journalism for a year at Ole Miss, just as a sort of to get off of the treadmill of the publishing business for a while. I was invited to teach, and I went to teach. And I said to my students, I said, forget objectivity. Objectivity is not the point. Honesty is the point. That is the whole moral gold standard maypole you must adhere to until your dying breath. Honesty. Objectivity is ridiculous. That's a cop-out. In fact, you're paid for your opinions. You're paid to go out and find out what you saw and what you think of what you saw. That's why people read you. Now, be honest in those opinions. Don't manipulate facts. Don't ignore facts. But this whole idea of balancing everything out to where the evil people get the same, moral equivalency as the good people. I was using an example in my class of when I was in Kosovo, and I saw the atrocities. I actually found the first mass grave in Kosovo, which I then turned over to the New York Times because you had a daily paper and I had a monthly magazine. But I found a few things like that. And I saw for myself firsthand the evidence of the atrocities the Serbs committed against innocent, unarmed civilians in Kosovo. And when I came back, I did a radio show with Michael Jackson, funny enough, Adam. Remember him? I think he's still alive.
Yeah.
He's still alive.
KBC, Los Angeles.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was on his show. We had Jonathan Alter from Newsweek then and me. And Jonathan Alter attacked me. He said, "You don't sound objective." I said, "Hell, man, I was there. Why would I be objective? I saw it with my own eyes. What's the point of being objective? I know what I saw. I'm being honest."
And the thing now is people don't believe what their eyes are telling them. That's also a big problem. What's going on today?
Well,
there is fake news. I hate to give Trump credit, but there actually is a lot of fake news. Most of it's on his side, by the way.
I think I think it's a time. I'll try to go holistic here, but you can wash your hands 15 times a day, and you can wear a mask everywhere, and you can never hug your kids again, or you could really work on your own immune system. And I think starting from the inside out is a better way to go. Get strong, get healthy, get that good immune system, and you may not even know this thing ever passed through you. Now, that's a metaphor for, and I've always said, you have to kind of calibrate your brain now. You're not going to hear the news from Fox or CNN. You're going to hear their version of everything. You have to get to a point where you're calibrated yourself, where you hear stories and you go, why would he say that? Or that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, think about all the crazy claims you hear from one side or the other. You have to stop and go, I'm going to pass it through my own filter. And don't worry, I'm calibrated very nicely because I've been working on my calibration. Work on your calibration just like you work on your immune system. And then I'm going to be healthy and strong. And then when this thing comes to me, I can process it sort of from a place of knowledge or strength, not just get bowled over by it going, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. Or I can't believe, like you hear the stories. You'll hear stories, and again, both sides, but you'll hear the cops in Atlanta shot a black man for sleeping in his car. And it's like, you'll go, what? They just walked up to the car and shot the guy for sleeping he just pulled in the parking lot, went to sleep, and the cops just went and shot him. You have to think to yourself, wait a minute, there's got to be more to this story than just that. And you're going to have to do it right and left. It's going to happen all the time. And it is now going to have to be like a default setting that we all have. Because otherwise, you're going to get sucked right into it. All right. So let me give you guys a plug, by the way. You can check out Spin at spin.com and shoot them a tweet at Spin as well. Bob, Daniel, let's hook up in in a year when Spin is taking the world by storm and reconvene on all these subjects.
Yeah, these subjects aren't going away anytime soon.
No, thank you guys. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Adam. Great seeing you.
All right, let me hit True Nigel, and then we'll break and do some news. Heard about NAD boosters. Yes, from 40 to 60, humans experienced a nearly 50% decline in NAD. Well, look, all you need to know about True Nigel is I was talking to Dr. Drew about it yesterday, and he said, oh, yeah, I've been on this for about a year and a half. And then Shannon Sharp, who I spoke to the other week, has been on True Niagen for quite some time. I've been on it about 4 months now. And look, you get older and your cells start to basically die. Well, that's the process. You need to replace those dying cells, and you need something to boost them, and that's where True Niagen comes in. It is, it has NAD, and the stuff has been tested. It's not a gimmick. It's not a sugar pill. Supports cellular defense and repair with True Niagen, and you can visit them online. TRUNIAGEN.com. Use the code Adam. Get $20 off any 3-month plus supply. It's a real product. It works. I'm on it. It is True Niagen. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back, do the news with Gina Grad right after this.
Give me the news with Grad. News with Gina Grad. Breaking viral, all those crazy Trump tweets. Give me news with Gina Grad. Trouble in the Middle East. Celebrity drunk meltdowns. Need news with Gina Grad.
The news with Gina Grad.
So we've mentioned CHAZ the last couple days, but it's no longer CHAZ. CHAZ is now CHOP. So I'm going to give you some updates on the CHOP situation in Seattle. Fox News reports that Seattle police officers have agreed to only enter the Capitol Hill organized protest, the CHOP, to respond to significant life safety issues. That's according to the mayor's office. City officials and organizers occupying the area that was CHAZ reached an agreement to remove temporary roadblocks set in place by protesters and replace them with concrete barriers. However, they're shrinking the space. So that was like 6 or 7 blocks. Now it's 3 blocks, but it is set with concrete barriers.
Just like Little Italy.
That's right.
Well, question, I'm very naive about this, but this is presumably where there's a bunch of businesses that would otherwise be open and people, I assume, living in high rises or something. And they're just kind of held hostage.
Glad you asked.
This group.
I'm going to touch on that. So on Monday, Chief Carmen Best denied that Seattle was under siege in any way after a business owner whose auto repair shop sits about a block outside the CHOP's perimeters, but it's right there, called 911 over a dozen times to report that someone had broken in, stolen cash, car keys, attempted to light the building on fire. She said dispatchers and officers are coordinating with crime victims or callers to meet police on the edges of the occupied area, and they will only go in if there's an urgent situation. And remember, this was supposed to be a leaderless event, but they have found people that are kind of rising to the top that they can at least negotiate with, or else they're screwed.
Well, there's a fundamental problem that, again, it's kind of the death of math or reality, which is famously when Dr. Drew and I interviewed Chumbawamba, they were anarchists, and I just say, well, how does it work? And they'd go, hey, one minute you're a garbage man, but why don't you get to be a commercial airline pilot? And I was like, well, how would that work? And it's like, well, you be a garbage man on Monday and then you fly 777 on Tuesday, and I was like, and then what about your album? What about your music? Like you worked hard on it. You had to pay engineers, equipment, space and time and money. How would it work with your material? And people, and they were like, people just take it. Just take it. Just have it for free. And I'm like, but then how do you get paid? Or how does the engineer get paid? And so there's a math problem that just never fucking works.
But Adam, in their defense, they were a very, very famous, successful musical group one day and trash collectors the next day.
Right.
So they live honestly.
Well, they got knocked down. I don't know if they got up again, but they definitely got knocked down. And so there's this thing where it's like, and I always look at it again as the internal combustion engine versus the wave of the future, the jet engine, and it's like, I know you don't like this old dirty way of doing things known as capitalism, and some people are going to have more money than others, and then there's going to be people in charge of other people and people telling other people what to do and paying them for their time and service. But all we can do is try to evolve the system we have, which has evolved quite a bit over the years, but we can continue to evolve this system. The tear it down and start anew never works because capitalism isn't a system. It's what people do when you leave them alone. It's essentially, it's a piece of nature. If you just take people and leave them alone, they'll go, hey, what are you good at? It's like, I'm a good woodworker. All right, what are you good at? I'm good at shoeing horses. Hey, what are you good at? Blowjobs. Okay, I think we can work something out here. You need your roof thatched. I need my roof. I need my dick sucked. You need your horse done. Like, that's just what happens. You know, it's funny because people kind of go, my oldest thing, I used to say on Loveline, which doesn't sound very interesting, but I always meant it when people go, how come men build the bridges and women are the nursery school teachers? I'd go, because that's the way it is. It's not like there was a decree that came down from, the mountain in Muhammad or the mountain came down with Moses. It's like that's what they gravitate to. That's how it works. Like when you leave people alone, this is the system that's created, warts and all. But this is the system that's created. You have to force communism. You have to force, we're living on a kibbutz. Okay, that's good for 31 people. But I mean, that's a forced system. When you just,
it's good for people. It's a self-selecting group. The people on the kibbutz want to be on the kibbutz.
When you just kind of get out of the way, this is the system that arises. And there's nothing we can do about it other than try to make it fair and try to make the playing field as even as possible and regulate it to some degree. But that's about it. This is the system.
Well, and the conversation we were just having with our guests, it rings so true in this particular case because all night I have two TVs on in the news booth. And at some point in the night, I turn on Fox and CNN just because there's no more local news. And at I may have taken a picture, but at the same time, they were both talking about CHOP or CHAZ or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the takes were so different. Me sitting in a news booth, obviously we're just reporting the facts, but I'm thinking, if somebody asks me, what do you think of this zone? I'm going to say, I have no idea because the takes were so different. I don't know who to follow. So like you said, you kind of have to split the difference. This is anarchy. They're destroying people's businesses and they're taking each other hostage, or the exact opposite. And it's just like, I feel like the people who consume the most news know the least in terms of opinion because it's just coming at you from so many different angles.
Well, it's both, they'll try to spin it like it's like, oh, it's a summer fair, like a street fair type environment. And then the other guys will spin it like it's a militant, paramilitary group out of control.
Right.
It's probably both simultaneously. It's guys with guns and people, braiding God's eyes.
Just there for the day.
Together with yarn. But either way, it shouldn't exist. It's a breakdown of the rule of law. I've been talking about this for a long time. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in the family. It doesn't really work micro and it doesn't work macro. It just doesn't work. Unfortunately, you need an authority figure. We don't like authority figures anymore, but whether it's a football coach, a principal, a cop, or a dad, we need a little more of that injected into society.
Well, Seattle, I think, is case in point because you have people. I guess you could just go in there and kind of mow it all down and just be like, no, you got to go. But they're looking for the leaders. They're giving them cinder block concrete barriers just to sort of negotiate and keep the peace. And we've all visited Seattle. The last couple of years we've done shows there, and there's a lot of tough parts of town in Seattle. A lot of rough and scary parts of town. So this kind of, it's a perfect place for something like this to happen.
Got to get Janet Reno. Got to get her back.
Roll the tanks.
Rolling the tanks. All right.
The Trump administration does not seem to want you to read The Room Where It Happened. That's the new book by former National Security Advisor John Bolton, which is set for a June 23rd release, just a few days away.
I know when I woke up this morning, that was the only book ahead of my book on Amazon.
Fuck that guy.
But I was
wow, you got to take him down.
Unfair advantage. Come on. If you're going to spill all the beans about what Trump said in the Oval Office versus me complaining about people flying with their dogs, that's unfair.
Yeah, we're going to need more than what he said on the set of The Apprentice. We need the Oval Office.
Can we all get on the same page now? Because I just want to get it out there. Are we going to believe what's in the book? Are we going to dismiss what's in the book? Because there's going to be a lot of massaging revisionist history going on, I think, in the next couple of weeks.
It depends who has their way, maybe, because the Trump administration claims that it contains classified information that could compromise national security, basically that they get a first look at these types of things and that John Bolton signed something saying as such. So in a statement this week, Bolton said the book includes some earth-shaking descriptions about his time working with Trump. Bolton also confirmed details about Trump's dealings with Ukraine, which were a key part of the Democrats' case to impeach. The DOJ claims that Bolton is sidestepping a government review that he agreed to for any book before he took his job in 2018. They're suing Bolton for breach of contract for breaking basically a confidentiality agreement. And it's with Simon & Schuster. I mean, they're not, I think they know a thing or two about book publication and distribution. And it's very rare for the White House to sue to delay the publication of a book.
Trump is going to benefit. So back in the day, Woodward and Bernstein would write All the President's Men. I guess that was a book, and they made a movie about it, whatever. And then that was the just sort of go-to Watergate, blow the lid off it. That's it. Carved in stone from your mouth to from God's mouth to your ears is what that was. Everybody from Omarosa to any, Scaramucci, everyone now writes a book, right? So it's so flooded and diluted that even if everything in it is true, Trump gets to go, another hater, fake news, cashing a check, making a deal. So there's actually, it's sort of kind of what I've always been saying about, like, stop calling everyone a racist. Wait for someone to be a racist and then call them a racist. Because if you start calling everyone a racist, then now no one's a racist. You know what I mean? Like, so there's been so many hit books on Trump over the last few years that now it's like, another disgruntled employee is going to go. It's like lawsuits. It's like all the slip and falls and all stuff. Eventually, it's like you don't know if the person's a victim or not anymore. It's just it's another payday. And that's the danger of this.
Question, do you think that's the product of the era we're in, where it's like the more these things come out or the more they're published or whatever, it's like it dilutes the waters, versus maybe back in the Woodward and Bernstein days, had there been 10 books about whatever, it would be like, oh my God, they just keep piling up. It just keeps going and going and going.
I think there needs to be a kind of a definitive record of an event or an administration or what have you. And if we get 50 different versions of an administration or an event or whatever it is, it ends up getting diluted as I think about it. I haven't been on the Amazon. I haven't checked around or poked around the Amazon bestseller list for a while because I'm not an avid reader per se. But I have. I did go on recently to see where my book was, and it struck me that it seemed like out of the top 50 books, 26 of them were Trump books, and 17 of them were racist books, like Am I a White Racist or How to Deal with Your Privilege or whatever. It's like all racist, all Trump. One cookbook in my book, like that's about it.
It's the anarchist cookbook,
right? That's all that's on there anymore. It's like that's the new world order. And go ahead, Brian.
No, finish what you were saying. Is a follow-up question after that.
I'm just saying, I don't know how many books you can read about you being a racist before you just kind of tune out a little bit. Like there used to be kind of a definitive book on race or definitive book on the Nixon administration or whatever it is. And then we'd all gather around it and use it like it was a textbook, like a history book. Like, could you imagine in the 9th grade having 35 history books, all sort of different?
No, there was a history book.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, Brian.
Nice. You, Adam, you just wrote a book. You've written several books. I wrote a book, and you've described this process more than once, which I totally identified with, which is whether your book's about cancer or jokey jokes or dogs on planes, the lawyer will call you and pore over the details in your book. And no matter how fucking innocuous it is, or like if it's my story about my cancer, like, did this really happen on this date? Are you 100% sure? But like, they are so afraid, anti-litigious, I guess is the word. I don't know what the word is, but like, what are the chances that this is not to be believed? You know what I mean? Or that this is falsified. It would be insane if this passed by lawyers being false.
I don't know how it works. I know I went through that process more than once. I was
about
asked.
Your parents.
I was asked. I must be the only author on the planet that's ever asked if their parents were litigious people. Like, he was basically saying you're going to get sued by your own parents if they ever read this book. Yeah, I don't know how it works with Bolton or Omarosa. Like, do they just go, this is what happened? Or maybe they just assume they're going to get sued anyway, and it doesn't matter. I don't know. But I'm assuming that process the process that you and I went through, I'm assuming they're going through it as well. I'm number one in political humor, ideologies, and doctrines, humor and entertainment, self-help and psychology humor, motivational and self-help as well as we speak. All right, let me hit Butcher Box. You want to be number one in delectable protein? Butcher Box, 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, heritage breed pork, and wild-caught seafood delivered to your door, less than $6 per meal. Olga made the salmon last night. It was so good. Left the skin on. So tender.
Gotta eat that.
Yep. I'll feed it to Phil. But either way, it's good stuff.
Gotta eat it, man.
I'll save it for Max Zapata. And to make sure the farmers and partners and team members are all safe, they started a wait list for new members. So you can sign up to reserve your spot, and you'll get an email when they're ready to take your order, because they want to play it safe, but they want to get you some of the best product in the world. Choose from 4 curated box options or the custom box, so you get exactly what you want and the stuff your family loves, and they get it. And sign up for delivery frequency as well, as much as you want it. Frozen for freshness and packed into eco-friendly 100% recyclable box. This stuff is top shelf. It's better than it needs to be. It's Butcher Box, right, Dawson?
Butcher Box is gradually welcoming new customers, but only if you're on the wait list. Reserve your spot today at butcherbox.com/Adam, and you'll get an email when they're ready to take your order. That's butcherbox.com/Adam to reserve your spot.
Oh. Personal audiobook is number one in personal success. And all right, I don't care about all the categories anymore. What position are we in the audiobook? 11 still? Oh, we'll figure it out. All right. Sorry, Gina. Go ahead.
Well, your crystal brain strikes again. I'm pretty sure when you mentioned this the other day, it was a joke, but also you doing a little fortune telling. There is a logo. There are actually 2 logos that are about to be changed, but one of them we will focus on. She's an ant. She's delicious.
Oh, Aunt Jemima.
Poured over pancakes. Yeah. That's right. Aunt Jemima getting a new name and a new image. Quaker Oats announced it's retiring the brand and logo, acknowledging Aunt Jemima's origins are based on racial stereotypes. There have been calls to remove the logo for many years. Now, remember, I'm sorry, I don't think I sent this as a picture to show you, but remember, up until 1989, that was the really stereotypical Aunt Jemima with the headscarf, and it was much more stereotypical. After that, they kind of softened the image, modernized it a little, but it's still not working. Apparently, the brand was inspired by a song titled Old Aunt Jemima, which was performed by a minstrel performer in the 1800s. The logo was created in 1890 based on a woman named Nancy Green. She was a storyteller, cook, and missionary worker. Although the image has been modernized over the years.
Storyteller, cook?
Yeah, storyteller, cook.
Oh, because you don't want storyteller, cook. That's a lot of spit in your grits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like her just waxing on over that open pot. How long
before? Tell you about okra.
How long before Uncle Ben is on the chopping block?
Uncle Ben's Rice is following suit and will be changing its logo as well.
There you go.
Well, look, I say turnabout is fair play, black people. We're getting rid of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Sorry.
And
Gone.
the Michelin Man.
Yeah. Okay. You loved him. It was beloved. Part of your childhood. Gone.
Ronnie guy, bounty guy, you're both out.
Yeah, you're out. How do you like us now? We're getting a Puerto Rican guy in there. Yeah, we should start tearing down all the cultural white icon folks.
Oh.
The bounty guy. Yeah.
So many.
Mr.
Clean.
Mr. Clean, I was going to say.
Mr.
Bald
Clean,
icon.
gone.
Gotta go.
Gotta go. That's right. All right.
By the way, I really wanted to think of this 35 seconds ago, and I couldn't when you said a storyteller spitting in your soup, and I kept saying Calamity Jane in my head. Typhoid Mary. Typhoid Mary was a cook, didn't know she was sick.
Oh, is that
Kept
what
getting everyone
happened?
sick. That's right.
Oh, yeah. Max Pato writes, Quaker Oats guy. That guy's got to go. He's going.
He's public enemy number one.
That motherfucker's a landowner.
He's going.
Look at him.
Yeah.
So Reuters reports that.
By the way, can I say,
Yeah.
here's how you know you have a bad childhood. When containers become a big part of your childhood. The Quaker Oats container is like, you can't throw this out.
No.
It's round and it stands on its own. We could use it. We could color it. We could put other things in it. Like when you start looking, just look at like when Arco gas stations were like giving out a Rams cup for every time you filled up, or just some stupid IHOP giveaway, or collect
little
and
glass
trade
tumblers you'd get at Burger King or McDonald's,
or even like they had jelly that came in a weird mug, and you'd use
with
it
a handle.
Just or even a Sucrets container, like a little metal container. It's got a snap lid. You don't throw that out. Yes.
You're describing my grandpa's house.
Yes.
I almost threw away a mayonnaise jar in his house. I thought Christmas was canceled.
All right. I know. My grandparents were the same way. I grew up that same way. Oh, God. Way back in the day, my dad smoked cigars, and there'd be a cigar box. A cigar box that's got a hinge and a flap on it. I mean, that thing's sturdy. You could put Hot Wheels in there and pot later on. Like, containers were a big ass deal.
Yeah, I wish that wasn't the case anymore, but we buy this 4-year-old everything he wants. I mean, he has more toys than I've ever seen in 20 lifetimes. And the kid loves coffee cans. He loves spaghetti jars. He loves toilet paper rolls. We're not allowed to throw anything away because it's a drum set. It's a sword. I'm like, I will buy you whatever you want. Can I? Yay!
I sadly, probably one of the second saddest days of my young life after the time I brushed my teeth with Vagisil, which was a bad mistake. There was that time.
Have I made this joke before? It sounds like you're bragging about how much pussy you get. I brushed my teeth with Vagisil.
Smell Nick Nolte's mustache. Smells like Vagisil. So there's another time, too, again, in the nothing to do, no money, and nowhere to go department. I remember once fishing a tampon applicator out of the garbage and using it like a telescope. Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
I didn't know what it was. It's like 2 pieces of cardboard. They were connected. They moved. It had a value to me. Yeah, like a raccoon.
Was it multicolored?
No, it was just, it was all white. It was all white.
It was peppermint color. It was a candy cane.
Yeah, looked like the front of a barber shop.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom would put a lot of English on her tampons, evidently. She did it with a certain joie de vivre.
Fucking Raleigh fingers out there.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I remember that, pulling it out of the trash can and holding it up like, ooh, I'm Hobo Kelly. I can see everybody. Yeah. They were lean times. Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. I got nothing. That's terrifying.
It's terrifying. Although the Vagisil stuck with me because the tampon applicator, I didn't know what it was. That didn't figure that out later.
Vagisil, you'd find out soon enough. When it's in your mouth.
Almost immediately. Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of communicable diseases, Reuters reports that coronavirus infections hit record highs in 6 U.S. states on Tuesday, marking a rising tide of cases for a second consecutive week as most states move forward with reopening. And what are those states? Arizona, Florida, Oklahoma, Oregon, and Texas all reported record increases in new cases on Tuesday. After recording all-time highs last week, Nevada also reported its highest single-day tally. They were up from May 23rd, and hospitalizations are also rising. That's really the one you focus on because more infections could mean better testing, more testing. But hospitalizations, if they're rising, that's an indicator.
Hospitalizations and deaths; those are the two, and any incapacities at hospitals scare me as well. Like the thing where the cases go up and even the hospitalizations go up. Well, sadly, we're opening the economy. That's going to happen. That has to happen. It'd be weird if it didn't, but it's the deaths and the hospitalizations. And I guess they don't put anyone on ventilators anymore, right?
No, they definitely do.
They do?
Yeah, but
I saw a story today that Arizona was at 80% of their ventilators are being used. Chris can verify that, but it was some insane number.
Oh, I thought
we were giving away our ventilators.
I thought ventilators were certain deaths.
I think it's coinciding with. Well, that might be true. I think it's coinciding with where it's spiking. Like, I don't think California is having a dearth of ventilators, but Arizona is.
Also, then I heard about, was I talking to Drew about this, another, not a vaccine, but another remedy?
There's like 3 major companies working on vaccines, and it's possible that we would get something akin to a vaccine. I don't know if Dr. Drew said this too.
Steroid.
Way before.
There was some steroid that seemed to work or stave it off or be effective in the whatever version of it. There's some new steroid treatment now that it's an old steroid that they're finding some positive results about. Here. All right. I'll let Max Pata find that. Let me hit LifeLock. April 15th tax deadline was pushed to July 15th, but the extension gives more time for hackers to mine your data and to sell it. It's important to understand how cybercrime and identity theft are affecting our lives. Every day, we put our information at risk, and we put it all out there on the internet. Cyber criminals, they keep finding new ways to steal your identity. You could miss threats. You're just monitoring your credit. You got to get LifeLock. You have to protect yourself. You're out there. Look, it's the most convenient thing in the world. You're doing all your shopping now. You're having food brought to your home. Everything is being done on the internet. Good. You don't have to leave the house. Stay home where it's safe. But your information is out there, and the hackers are trying to get to it, and that's why you need the protection of LifeLock, right, Dawson?
No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. LifeLock can see threats you might miss on your own. Join now and save up to 25% off your first year by using promo code Adam. Call 1-800-LifeLock or head to lifelock.com. Use promo code Adam for 25% off.
All right, Gina, what else? And Max Pat, you can look for that article out of Arizona about the ventilators as we speak.
I thought you wanted me to look for the steroids.
Oh, it's all right. The steroid is Dexama, blah, 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 and it shows helps severely ill corona patients, according to scientists in Britain, which is good because the other things we talked about didn't help once you were severely ill. So maybe if we get one when you're severely ill, maybe that'll be helpful.
Is it dexamethasone or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on that for when I was on Avastin years ago.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I would get that with the infusion.
So safe and effective and been around. So good.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll work. All right. What do we got, Gina Grad?
Well, alcohol sales may have boomed during the lockdown, but returning to air travel, going to be a very different story. Really want your take on this, Adam, because I don't know I can't remember if this affected you on the plane or not. Airlines, including EasyJet and KLM, those are in Europe, Delta Airlines, American Airlines here in the U.S., Asia's Virgin Australia, are suspending all or part of their alcoholic drink service in response to COVID-19. It's supposed to minimize interaction between crew and passengers. And we know you had the canned water and party mix. It's so delicious. Many airlines are limiting drink options to water only. Face masks must be kept on when, except if you're eating or drinking, and they just want to make the eating and drinking so unappealing that you just keep your mask on, I would imagine.
Well, I'm always obsessed. I have an obsession with the placement of the backpack, and it's not my obsession. It's their obsession with the placement of the backpack. As I've said, it's always duffel bag goes overhead, backpack sits on my lap, usually trying to get stuff out of it or deal with it. Always a long discussion about where it needs to go. And if you're sitting on the bulkhead, it's got to go up in the overhead. You can't have it on your lap. But then I thought, well, if the New World Order is there's an open seat between me and my roommate, meaning Mike's on one side and I'm on the other, and that seat in the middle is always open, why can't I set my backpack on that seat? It's
gotta buckle it in.
It's where a human being would normally be. No can do. It's got to go on the ground, and it can't go on the ground. It's got to be stuffed in front of the seat in front of you. And there's always an obsession over that. As a matter of fact, in recent years, I'd say there's more of an obsession over the backpack versus the seatbelt. I've not been admonished about the seatbelt not being buckled, or maybe they can't see it as clearly. Is a lot of passes and explanations on where that backpack needs to be and how you can't hang on to it and how it can't be on the seat. It can't be in the bulkhead. It's got to be stuffed. It's not far enough under the seat in front of you. I've always thought about that. I'm not sure where the obsession lies. And it's not like we open the newspaper every Monday and go, another air disaster. Flight experts
Could have been avoided.
They blame the backpack. Yeah, someone tripped over a backpack. They couldn't get to the emergency exit, and they saw a fiery death.
Were people wearing masks on your flight?
Yeah, everyone was wearing a mask, but again, it's very catch as catch can. Like, you have a lot of people with the nose hanging out over the top of the mask. You have a lot of people pulling the mask down to like talk or take a drink and then slide the mask back up. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of daylight between the bridge of the nose and where the mask hits. Like, it's something, but it is not
optimal.
I'll put it to you this way. If you ever see those clean rooms that SpaceX runs or NASA runs or some pharmaceutical company, 90% of the people on that plane wouldn't cut muster in one of those clean rooms. As far as that, they'd be shown the door. They'd be like, you got to put your fucking mask on right. It's not symbolic here.
Did they offer alcohol?
No, there's no more alcohol. There's no more food. There's no more anything. And I suspect that most companies, airlines included, they have stuff they want, but if they can't just do it, because then everyone would go, what the fuck? And I don't, they're pushing. We were discussing this the other day. It'd be interesting to find out your opinion and the opinion of and the actual math on it. But they push that cart up and down the aisle. It takes them a long time. They have jack-offs like Mike August ordering his like cranberry ale or whatever. And he's like, I want ginger ale and orange juice and cranberry juice. And it's all free. I mean, that part of it's free. They're like mixing and matching and getting the ice. And it seems like kind of a calorie burner for them. Now, they do sell drinks, but you take those flights, like you're flying out of Phoenix at 10 a.m., like how much are they making on booze on that flight? Oftentimes, seems like about half the time I've ordered a drink on the flight, they kind of just went like, yeah, let's take it, it's fine. It's okay. Like, I haven't even been, I have a batting average for booze on a flight that I'd say 40% of the time they go, don't worry about it. And they just keep going. So I don't think
Southwest is very liberal with their drink coupons. They could be like, mine's up above. And don't worry about it.
So I don't think it's a big source of revenue for them. I do feel like it's a big hassle for them. And anytime you can slide something under the umbrella of safety, then you can get rid of it. And then also, if all the other airlines are doing it simultaneously, then you're not going to be the one that stands out. So I think they're using this as their opportunity to get rid of something they would have liked to have gotten rid of anyway. And my feeling is that's fine, but you just have to kind of reflect it in the ticket price. It didn't seem like they wanted to do the meals. They didn't seem like they wanted to do the drinks. It seemed like they wanted to do less and less of that. And look, think about what it used to be, sort of pre-coronavirus. I mean, just think about how it was in the 60s and the 70s, pheasant under glass and Coach, rolling out big silver carts and everything like you're at Laurie's,
Real silverware.
Right.
Yeah.
So the kind of
stemware.
They kind of use 9/11 to do a lot of that too. Like, okay, now it's a focus on safety. We're not handing out the drinks until we get up to altitude and stuff like that. So whenever I see them implementing something and doing it universally, I'm assuming it's something they wanted to do in the first place. So I'll just reverse engineer it. Let's say the airlines benefited greatly from serving alcoholic drinks and turned a tidy profit on it. Do you think they would be saying we can't do it now because of this close contact? We're bumping
saying
into
only alcoholic drinks.
You go to take a leak, you walk to the back of the airplane and you bump into someone who's walking out of the bathroom. There's no science to it. The airplane is 7 feet wide. There's the airplane, we're flying a 737. The 737 is 10 foot wide and there's 130 people on that flight. Like where are we going? How's this going to work? Some of them are wearing masks. Others are, getting the snack mix, pulling the mask down, taking a handful of snack mix, pulling the mask back up. I mean, it ain't a science. It's mostly window dressing, and I would assume the booze. I'll tell you, this is going to benefit the folks that make the Travelers, right? Like the little booze bottles. You got to
full size for Brad Williams.
You got to be armed. You got to be armed with one of those when you get on a flight.
Roll your own.
Brad did take the picture, by the way. I don't know if you saw it.
Oh,
he did take the picture. Yep.
With the booze bottle and the thimble.
He sure did. Yep.
Was it a red thimble? Was that my problem with it?
Yeah, that's right.
I need the Monopoly set thimble, but yes. Thank you, Brad Williams. I appreciate it. Oh, you have Arizona info. Yeah, ventilators.
So, according to the Arizona Republic, their biggest newspaper, ventilator use for suspected and confirmed positive COVID patients was at its highest on Monday, with 340 patients on ventilators. Now, their governor said that the entire time they've been focused on a possible worst-case scenario with surge capacity for hospital beds and ventilators, ICU beds. Those are not needed or necessary right now, and that a second stay-at-home order is not under discussion. And also there is no requirement for everyone to wear masks in public.
Well, good. We're going to Tempe, and we'll be at the Improv on the 3rd and the 4th, doing a live podcast and stand-up there as well. All right, let's do one more, Gina Grad.
All right. Well, I generally wouldn't end with this, but I did just get a notification on my phone. Actor Danny Masterson, Hyde from the 70s Show, charged with raping 3 women, according to Fox 11. This is just hot off the presses.
Which one is he?
Was that 70s Show?
Yeah, the guy that always wore the aviators.
Oh, yeah.
The cool guy.
Scientologist.
That's right.
Is he? Wow.
Yes. And so these are from 2001, 2003, and I'm looking for the third one. If convicted as charged, he faces a possible maximum sentence of 45 years to life in state prison. But I think they're just getting the ball rolling on this.
Wow. Well, when we kind of redefine the definition of rape, once we redefined it, when we kind of turned it into, if people were drunk or if, any unwanted advance or whatever, when we got pretty open, when we broadened, pardon the pun, the definition of rape, and then you take all these guys who go from zero to hero, go from nobody and unrecognizable on big TV shows. I mean, I got to tell you, I was on MTV in the 90s. You would go, if I went to a strip club or even a bar, like I went to a bar in Manhattan when I was, 1997, 1998, whatever maybe it was the height of MTV Loveline. Like 2 chicks come up to me and go like, hey, you want to go back to our room and basically watch us, or party with us or whatever. Under the current definition of rape, any of that shit could have fallen under that umbrella. Now we'll figure out what he did and how severe it was.
I can tell you what the counts are. He was charged with 3 counts of rape by force or fear in separate incidents occurring between 2001 and 2003.
Force or fear?
Force or fear.
They've been investigating him since 2016.
Wow.
Yeah. And I have to actually read the article, but let's see. Masterson in 2 other cases, one for insufficient. Okay. Additionally, the DA's office declined to file sexual assault charges against Masterson in 2 other cases, one for insufficient evidence and the other based upon the statute of limitations for the crime. A warrant was filed for his arrest on Tuesday.
I bet you Kutcher's not taking his calls anymore. No fucking way.
No.
And he hasn't done anything since that show, or has he?
He did the did he do the ranch?
Yeah, he was dropped from the show when the charges were being investigated.
Oh, he's dropped from the ranch
with Ashton Kutcher.
with Kutcher on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a guy edits on that show. Wow. All right. Well,
so we'll follow that.
We'll keep it up. We'll keep you posted. All right, let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
Well, last but not least, Geico. Everyone is doing a lot of sharing these days. Your DIY haircut fails and your inner lip sync stars. And Geico wants to share a little, too. They're doing a give back. 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for current and new customers. Geico's committed to long haul. So the 15% credit lasts your full policy term, everybody. So visit geico.com/giveback for info and eligibility at geico.com. Hey, quick reminder, if you're going to get my book, please leave a review. It just helps y'all. And thanks in advance for that. You can get those. Amazon, wherever you get books, you can get them. Live events, I told you, just go to adamcarolla.com and find out when we're doing a live show or a stand-up near you. And go to youtube.com/adamcarolla. Putting a lot of our unprepareds up there. I want to thank Dan Dunn for coming in here.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank, or Skyping in here, whatever, Zooming in here. I want to thank Bob Guccione Jr. and Daniel Kohn, or Cohen, I should say, for coming in here, too, with the spin. Until next time, this is Adam. For all them and Gina Grad saying, mahalo.